Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 22nd meeting of the Lakeville Conservation Commission. We are being recorded by Lake Cam, and I'd like to ask if anybody in the audience is recording. Seeing none, we will begin by introducing ourselves.
I'm Mark Minton. I'm the conservation agent.
John LeBlanc.
Michelle Bouchard.
Nancy Yates.
Joseph Chamberlain.
Bill O'Farrell.
Okay, first on our agenda tonight is 7 Pine Bluff Road is a request for a certificate of compliance. This was for a closing. I've been there. Did you go, Mark, to 7 Pine Bluff? Just me?
Just you.
House has been there for a long time. Everything's really beautiful. What brought up this is a sale. Sale of the house, and it was on their deed and needs to be removed, but as far as I can see, everything is in perfect order, so we need a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 7 Pine Bluff Road, SE 192 568.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2008.
Yeah, it's been there for a long, it was just a redo of the house
It's the
anyway.
sales that force the people to finally get the certificate of compliance.
Okay, next up is 44 Cross Street, another request for certificate of compliance, SE 192 774. There was some confusion on this one, so this is also a continuance, so I need a motion to continue 744 Cross Street, SE 192 774 to May 13th at 6:30 PM at the police station.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Check. Okay, next up, 129 Staple Shore Road is a request for determination for the addition of a small storage shed and greenhouse. I am gonna read the public notice. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Lakeville Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on 4/22/25 at 6:30 PM at the Lakeville Police Station, 323 Bedford Street, on a request for determination of applicability. The applicant, Donna DeCoste, is proposing to add a 10 by 6 foot storage shed and a small greenhouse. The project is located at 129 Staple Shore Road and is identified on Assessor's Map 64, Block 3, Lot 13.
Nancy,
Yes?
I live on Steeple Shore Road,
Yes.
so I don't know if I should, recuse myself from any of this, or?
Are you in a direct abutter?
No, I'm not.
I think it's all right.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Unless you're doing the work for
Yeah,
them.
no.
And being paid for it, in which case then, yes.
Okay.
So I can speak to this one. We have the applicant here, but I've been out to the site a couple different times. Nancy,
Okay.
the chair, has as well. And everyone should have this. It's a hand-drawn diagram. It gives you the distances on the back of the property. There's a stream and then wetlands further back into the woods there. I think it seems reasonable. It's a freestanding small greenhouse, which is there on the back. I believe it's going to be on some type of cinder block with some gravel underneath, and it's organic.
No excavation? No?
And then up against the existing garage is where this small shed is going to be built. I guess it's a storage shed. Just
How close to the property line are you putting the greenhouse, do you know?
12
How
feet.
close to the back property line?
On the back, I believe it's
38 feet. It's 5 feet.
on the side 2.5.
How far to the wetlands behind there?
38 feet. Well, everything's within the buffer.
Yeah.
That's what
There are wetlands. When I went to look at Mass Mapper, there's wetlands to the north and east, and then there's to the north and the west. There's a stream, which is a connectivity between those two wetlands. Mass Mapper shows that the wetlands start, I can't give you an exact distance, but isn't right there, but it's hard to imagine, you know. I think it's, yeah, within the buffer. It's,
The only thing I can say, and it has nothing to do with wetlands, but if you're gonna put it 5 feet off the property line, just check with Nate. Save yourself some headache. He might, because I think there's a setback that I think 5 feet might be a little too close to the property line.
Okay.
But if there's nobody there, you don't have to pull a permit because it's smaller than, but I'd run it by him,
Okay.
just before you locate it and have to move it.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I'm not,
Question?
Yep.
Garden shed?
You know, well,
Stars.
greenhouse for.
Okay,
seedlings.
well, greenhouse. So hazardous chemicals,
Organic.
petroleum-based stuff not brought.
No
Okay,
chemicals.
okay,
No comment.
okay,
But the storage shed's different from the greenhouse.
yes.
Okay. It's attached to the garage, right?
That would be a.
Okay.
Yes, and that would be for storage of like.
By the way,
Electric lawnmower. No gas in that.
Yeah,
Wood,
power washer,
Shovels.
snow blower.
things that we all have.
snow, what is this word snow of which you speak?
Haven't used my snow blower in about 5 years now.
best reason to
If I
buy
sell
one.
it, then we'll get a blizzard, you know, so.
I still have the plow on my plow truck. It's coming off tomorrow. I figure I'll be safe if I wait until tomorrow.
Are you running power to the greenhouse at all?
No,
Okay.
no, power.
Oh, no,
Okay.
some power.
so when I was on the property, there was a pile of soil there, and if I was gonna make any recommendations of things that you could do is, or should do is, well, while you're building this, some type of sedimentation control at the edge of this stream and stabilize the backyard, whether it's grass or, and do something with that pile of soil.
Let's fill the raised beds.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
That's what that's there for.
okay.
I think he's
just
saying that the pile's not a problem, but you need to cover it in some way if we have a torrential downpour. That it needs to be stabilized with,
It's
been
covered,
oh,
completely covered.
okay.
It's completely covered with a tarp and all
Okay.
rocks holding it down.
And once the greenhouse goes in, that's going into you're putting raised beds into the greenhouse, is what you're saying?
Yes.
No, not in the
No,
greenhouse,
not
in
in
the
the-
garden.
Just out in the garden outside.
Right.
On the land.
Yeah,
Just, yeah.
yeah.
So Mark, you want a siltation barrier
Yep,
across the back?
and and the soil, it was, you know, it was winter when we were out there, so it was some exposed soil, but, you know, with some type
Well,
of, you know,
we had a
grass.
fence installed when they removed, you know, to put their posts in, they made a little pile next to our big covered pile. So that's what you probably saw. That was the exposed stuff that the fence guys did,
Yeah,
Yeah. Which is small. The exposed pile was just a little, the rest of it was all covered in a tarp. It has been.
yeah, so just, I mean, basically, anything you can do, you don't want exposed soil there in case it rains, because it's all gonna wind up in the stream, in the wetlands. So whether that's putting down grass seed, you know, I don't know what your plan, you know, if you have that in mind.
Ideally, raised beds with some, just pea stone with some pieces of slate over it, so if everything can, you know, drain well through it. Just a typical little raised bed garden area.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I just, while you're working on this, something to make sure, you know,
The hay bale thing?
Hay bale or
The
wattle?
thing?
wattle, but we're moving away, I think, from wattles, but.
The turtle tube,
Is that what it's called?
the turtle tubes.
Actually, I'm being remiss that I didn't have you step up to the microphones through all this. Would you just
Oh.
step up and identify yourself, please?
Come up here?
Slacking on the job, yes.
Okay. Donna DeCoste, 129 Staple Shore Road.
Okay, sorry.
No
That's-
problem.
No, I'm saying sorry up there.
Does your backyard actually slope down at all, or is it fairly level?
I'm sorry.
Does the backyard, does your backyard
No,
slope
it's very-
down, or
it's
is it
actually
very level? Okay.
It's very level,
And
and then
I'm
there's a riprap wall at the edge, the whole length, which has been there forever when we first bought the place, which separates the yard from the stream.
Oh, there's riprap there?
There has
No
been
concern
for,
then.
I don't know how
they put
long,
it
the
up to
house is
build a
100
house.
years old, I don't know how long the riprap's been there.
Okay.
Was that the only condition? The siltation barrier?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to close the hearing, issue a determination,
Negative.
-3 with a condition of you'll put up a siltation barrier and you will check with the agent to go and review it before you start work. Okay?
So moved.
Absolutely.
Second.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if it's the first time that you've heard -3 determination, that's actually a
That's a
positive
good thing.
thing.
Yeah.
People
I
get
wasn't
a little,
sure.
Yeah, people get real.
people get
Negative's
nervous.
good, you're not.
Everybody's smiling, so I feel okay.
Well, and we're trying to keep track of who's been here to hear it before,
Right.
and then do some, general
And if I have
FAQ.
a bumper crop of cukes or something, I'll bring them on over and share.
We won't say no.
you.
Thank you.
Radishes.
Radishes? Oh, those are easy. Easy peasy. Thanks all.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.
So, 1, 2, 3. Next up, 14 Sandy Point Road.
14, okay.
Oh, wait,
It's number
wait.
4. You got it, you got it.
14 Sandy Point Road, RDA for tree removal, continued from 4/8/25 because it didn't go in the paper.
I was just down,
I'm just gonna read it into
Oh,
the
I'm
record.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
sorry.
Okay, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Lakeville Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on 4/22/25 at 6:30 PM at the Lakeville Police Station, 323 Bedford Street, on an RDA. The applicant, Jeffrey Bernier, is proposing tree removal. The project is located at 14 Sandy Point Road, Lakeville, Mass, identified as Assessors Map 39, Block 5, Plot 20. Okay, go Mark.
So I was just down at the property about 2 hours ago, hour and a half ago. The trees are down. The trees have already been removed. Sedimentation was in place. And I think he had his,
With the stumps ground?
no, they were not removed. They were
Yeah,
ground.
they're not removed.
Yep.
He was in Florida. This is kind of after the fact that, I don't know what happened, but it didn't get noticed in the paper. You
Right,
know how hard
yep.
it is to schedule the tree guys? I told him to take pictures or have somebody take pictures, but everything's in order, so.
Mark, do you know what they did with that beech tree?
I can ask him. I don't know exactly what they did with them because of the, beech leaf
Just, yeah,
problem.
just curious.
I'll reach out to
We
him.
wouldn't want that sitting, on the edge of the property around other trees or
I
anything.
think they removed them, right?
Yeah. so-
Just incidentally, beaches, there's a tree company I ran into, I just talking to the guy up in the yard a couple of weeks ago, a Resendes, the Resendes from Freetown. They have nematodes that fight the bad nematodes now.
Oh,
So first question I asked this guy was, got anything for, beach leaf disease? He said, speaking of that, and it involves no chemicals, just again, they have an army of good nematodes to go attack the bad nematodes. So we'll see if this works out to be viable. Supposedly it is.
Okay, so I look for a motion to close the hearing and issue a -3 determination. Everything's already been checked, so. Kinda after
So
the fact.
moved.
Okay,
Second.
anybody else?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, now I would like a motion to take 160 Bedford Street and rear Bedford Street out of order.
Take
So
them,
moved.
take them early. Take them early, right?
Yes.
Okay. And which
Motion
direction?
and a second?
Second?
No, I got a second.
Oh,
All
we
in
got a
fa-
second, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I think we have our attorney here from 160 Bedford Street?
Your peer review?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please, come up and. I don't know if you had talked to Rich today or not, but
I didn't get a hold of him.
You didn't, cause yeah, it's hard. But I did talk to the office and I said, we were going to do a continuance and they said, fine. And I said, you were coming tonight to talk to the commission. So they're okay with it. So if you could just introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Deb Keller with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I did the stormwater peer review for this project. I wrote a letter back, let's see what date it's on here. April 3rd, I do believe Prime Engineering sent in some revised plans and documents to address my comments. I've had a chance to skim through them. I haven't been able to write a formal letter back. I do believe there are still some outstanding items that weren't clearly addressed. I can go through my letter if that's helpful, or...
I would think that would be very helpful, but, the first thing, I've only talked to John here tonight and our agent does know, but, the one thing I don't think the board knows is that none of the wetland line has been approved. There was an ANRAD many years ago. I don't even know the exact date.
I think I saw that.
And an
Let's see.
ORAD was never issued?
It was, but it's old, it's
It's
out of
expired.
date. So they
Yeah.
came back in, August of
23?
23 with an RDA for determine the wetland line. And we didn't approve it. We did a positive 3. And asked that they do a notice of intent. So none of the wetland line on that property for either the pond in the front, which is kind of on the other people's property, but it's
Right.
still, or the little pond that goes, under the
rear.
driveway to the neighbors is, none of that has been approved. So that's one issue. And I just wanted to get that out before we,
So for clarification, the RDA information that they just recently sent, which is the 2023, you're
Right.
saying that,
right.
was not.
And I have the minutes from
approval.
this meeting too, and if you, I don't know if she sent you our determination or not.
I got it, yes, it was
She
in the
did? Okay,
package.
good, okay.
And-
But, you know, it was in the package and I was like really reading everything very carefully. And, I'm like, okay, it's not under negative determination, so, it's was an oversight. And then I was questioning why we did that, because it was just for the wetland line, and then we said we want an RDA, but then they were talking at that time also about buildings and septic systems and whatever, so.
But comment number 1 says there is a current ORAD included in the NOI application was only for the centrally located bordering wetland. So there is one, but not for the 2 outside.
That was my comment to them, but
Yeah.
that ORAD expired in.
Oh, okay, so the
2018.
ORAD you're talking about there has expired.
Expired,
Okay.
Right, so the black is her and the red is their
Yeah,
response,
no,
okay,
I-
all right.
And so then, let's see if I keep my,
Okay, so that was number 1, okay. I'll let you continue.
so, yeah, so with that understanding, they should be asking for confirmation of the wetland line. I don't know if you want someone to review that, or if Mark can review the line and confirm it. Because you could do that under this wetland, a notice of intent.
Okay.
Just my thought and I have no problem with you, but this is this is before all the boards in town, it seems like, and all the eyes are on it, and it would be my thought that we get a professional wetland scientist to review the wetland line. And
I would
agree to
second
it.
that motion. No.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to.
No, I appreciate, yeah, no, I agree with,
Yeah, I wouldn't
Given-
wanna, any of us to be responsible. I really think just because we need to really,
Make sure everything's,
I'd love to be out there when they were,
well, that's
Doing the
fine, yeah.
confirmation,
I would like
yeah.
you to be out there too when we get
yeah.
a,
We don't have any wetlands, scientists on staff. I can the person we typically use is Brad Holmes out of Environmental Consulting and Restoration out of Plymouth.
we've used Brad
Brad.
before.
Yep.
We've
Yep.
also
That's
used Brandon
Banner.
Banner. I have a hard time with his name. So,
Yeah,
either one. Okay.
so will you coordinate or would you like me to call or sure how we wanna?
I can reach out to both of them. I can talk to, is there a preference?
Well, I'm just thinking if it's somebody that she already works with, maybe we would, as a peer reviewer, just let her handle the whole thing and would take it off us totally. Would be
Fine.
my,
I think that
with
would be
me,
the
but-
Yeah.
the smoothest.
Yes.
Because
We're
we would
happy to
also
do
want
that.
to give a little bit of history of the project and the change in the property to the scientist who's going to be doing the review and then be present.
Is the wetland line marked?
no,
No,
No?
no,
there are some old
Old
flags out
flags,
yeah.
there,
I
but
think
it's
so.
not,
not where it
It's
goes
not
out onto
appropriately-
the land,
it's not
yeah.
appropriately delineated at the time.
Needs to be clearly delineated.
Especially how complex this is, so
Yes.
that we can get very accurate measurements and impact, because there's also multiple pieces of property that are impacted. So I think we can't do much else until we get that done too,
Right, so there's no wetland line to peer review.
right?
Is that?
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yes.
there is a wetland, north of the property, off property, but the buffers come on the property, so that'll be one that you won't confirm the line, but you'll review it to make sure that it's accurate so that they could, represent the buffers on the property as well.
Yeah, almost none of this is outside of the buffer.
Say
You
again?
have- You have to go to the very southwest corner of their lot where they're not doing work to be outside of
Yes.
the buffer at
Right.
this point.
Right.
So do you have all the information to pass on to, like Brad?
I can, yeah, I have, I will pass on the plans that we have current, that they just submitted
Okay,
with the ORAD that they filed.
okay,
And, I can give him a summary and then ask him for a proposal to review it.
okay.
But I would think that, in my next review letter, I'll mention the fact that we confirm that none of the lines
Okay.
have been reconfirmed.
Okay.
And they should go out and reflag them so that they
Okay.
can be reviewed.
Yep.
At least get that process started, and maybe by the time they get them reflagged, we'll have, hopefully Brad on board. if
Okay.
he's, able to do that.
Okay,
If he's not,
perfect.
I'll reach out and get the, other gentleman that you work with and contact him as well.
Thank you.
So you will put in your response for them to flag the wetland. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep,
So, that's one thing. I'm just gonna open up the plan. I have to say that, pretty confusing plans. Informational wise as to what's actually being proposed, what's not.
okay, which one are you looking at, so we
I
can,
am looking at the grading and drainage plan.
okay,
It has a response, revised plan, date of April 11th, so it was within the current package they submitted. So they did, the first thing I kind of look at is like looking at, to make sure that they've got the resources on the plan, and then looking at, you know, kind of going through the GIS and seeing if there's any other issues on the site. Habitat, which there is, and I believe they received a letter, I did get that in my package from Natural Heritage. And I think I was trying to understand what they submitted to Natural Heritage to get that letter.
The date of the plan that they
They
submitted?
submitted in comparison to this, if it was the same. I'm sorry.
No worries.
It was similar in the sense that it had a basin in the rear corner, but it wasn't as detailed as this one. Kind of, again, limited in sort of what they're doing. On this plan here, they're just showing grading. What I did ask for them to identify, which is one of the things I believe still needs to be clarified, is the limit of the parking, where you're gonna have the reclaimed asphalt versus what is the rest of the area going to be. They indicated it was gonna be loam and seeded, but they just added one line and put vegetation with an arrow and pavement or parking with an arrow. And so if I'm to follow that, I'm just following the dashed line, which goes onto the adjacent property. So now I don't know where the limit of work for the pavement is. So it does leave a little bit to try to understand what's happening. With respect to, you know, everything that's going on here. Again, they're showing a septic system that goes to nowhere, although,
There's a portable trailer.
right, but it's not tied to the portable trailer.
No.
I did see in some of the plans that I had been provided, there was a proposed building on one of the plans that had tied it to it, but now that's off the plan. And then in their stormwater for this basin, they are alluding to future pavement, but really that pavement should, if they're designing the basin for future pavement, that pavement should be shown as to what they're proposing, because
Agreed.
you have this plan and I would hate you approve it and then they come back and go, oh, well, it's already been done. And how do we then kind of reconcile everything between the plans? It should, what they're proposing in front of you should be on the plans.
And also, we're not even want to deal with a septic. It's not
No.
part of our job at this point to deal with a septic or a building in the future. And I would think they wouldn't want to have to redo their basin all over again. I just don't.
Yeah, I guess when I was driving down here too, I was just wondering, was there a direction that they were given to put the basin in?
No, I don't think we gave any, I think they came up with this, right?
This is the plan that they came
Yeah,
up with.
they
and
came up with
submitted.
this plan.
This is now the April 11th one dated, and your review would be based off of the amended or modified plan we'd asked for because of what was found in the testing that we required over the fall and winter. So that's where the stormwater and drainage modifications have been made. So I'm wondering if some of what you had and reviewed was part of what was submitted
Well,
last summer and might have been changed.
Right, because since
By the
then
whole
they've had 2 enforcement orders and a cease and desist on the property.
So, okay.
So this kind of came out of that, and the
This is sort of to
testing,
address those issues then.
and what we had given them direction for were the test pits where where they found the arsenic and the copper and the lead, whatever, heavy metal
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, and so they did do a final report that said that when they felt as though they tested enough and felt it was clean to moving forward with stormwater to address any future development, but I guess I'm confused as to what the future development is. If it's almost like backwards. You're putting a basin in before you have the development.
I think that's what Mark and I had said already.
Yeah, unless I'm missing
Similar-
something.
We had similar comments that,
Right, we have comments all over
Yeah.
your report here to say, why wouldn't they tell us what they wanted? Because we tell everybody all the time, tell us what, everything you want to do conceivably, so you don't have to come back here again. So I don't understand when it could change all this paving and that crushed asphalt they brought there when they're under a enforcement order and it's in big piles there. To me, once that's like, they spread that out and roll it down, now that's gonna change the basin.
Right, and then it would have to be modified to expanded or adjusted to accommodate whatever
And-
development they're looking for.
And that we really, like on an order of conditions, for anything, we have to really call out that this does not include a septic system or a building or anything else,
Right.
only what they're
Right.
proposing for the parking lot. And like I say, that asphalt, two of those piles of asphalt are like right out next to the basin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the asphalt that they dumped
I
there, but I
tried to
send you
look a
pictures.
peek on my, when I was driving by. and
That's hard. Yeah, but I had
But-
sent some pictures because I was kind of horrified that when they were under a enforcement order and not to do anything else, that they went and dumped that all out there in what they call small piles. Now, I
Yeah.
thought they were as high as the dumpster. Well, they're like those piles right out there across, it looks like a dump truck maybe? I don't know. John, did you see the piles?
Yeah.
Okay, but he's like, oh, those aren't large piles. I'm like, it depends on your perspective.
Everything's relative.
Yeah. Well, the one standard is standard 5, which is the higher potential pollutant loads. So here, I didn't get it, I don't believe I got an answer to the question, but,
Which number are you talking about?
it's on page 3 of my letter. I don't think they responded to it.
We have like, comment number 4, comment number 5.
Yeah, that doesn't align with my
Okay.
comments.
All right,
And I don't believe it's in their response letter.
okay,
I went through the stormwater management standards one by one, so it's actually standard 5 of the stormwater, standards, which is for higher potential pollutant loads. And usually it's, where you either high parking, truck storage. So what I was asking, just seeing, walking the site, it kind of questioned what the use of the property is for. If it's for truck storage, they may need to look at additional treatment for their stormwater, but I don't have a use, so I don't know how to answer that without them telling us what they're using the property for. So that'll be a question I guess I have to ask again.
okay.
Again, I went through, I think in general, if I'm just looking at the stormwater, the breaking up and the redirection of the water seems appropriate. I still have questions on the trench drain system out front. I believe it's still not modeled appropriately in their drainage model. They have some errors in the model that should be addressed so that we can make sure that we're looking at real numbers. And just for example, and this is why I know it's not modeled correctly, as you look at it, you're at elevation 86 on average, 86, 87 for the site. When I look at the trench drain and the way it's modeled, and I think it's in the 100-year storm event, it tells me the peak height in the trench drain is 236, which is a little bit higher than the site itself. So there's an error there that just needs to be fixed so that we're looking at accurate numbers. And it may not change the result, but I think you should have an appropriate analysis for your records.
And it looks like, and I'm not great on the engineering, but it looks like when that trench out front overtops, it's gonna go into the wetland.
That is correct.
So is that like gonna be treated? If it overtops, it's not draining
It's
through
just
the.
go straight in.
Right, you would be getting the treatment through the Cultec chambers and the stone trench, so then it gets treated and then it would bubble up down the slope and supposedly
So it would
into
be
the wetland.
treated before I hit the wetland,
So it would be treated, yeah,
if it's done right?
if it's done right.
Okay, all right, that was my question.
And one of the questions I was going to ask Prime Engineering in regards to hopping back to the big basin out back is, it looks like this basin is designed as what I would call a pocket wetland or wet basin, because they're trying to intercept groundwater in certain areas. I did ask for a test pit. I believe they asked that they could do a confirmatory test pit in the basin prior to construction, which is okay most of the time, but if this is truly supposed to be a pocket wetland and they're not getting into groundwater as much as they should, to appropriately design the system, it could change the way the system is significantly. So I would almost think we'd want to have that information now rather than later, because they'll end up coming back to you if they have to change the basin.
So,
And there is no, and this, you may, I just need clarification. The only reason I'm saying this is because they don't call out what type of basin this is, other than they're calling out micropools, which are associated with pocket wetlands.
so you're saying they need to do more test pits prior to,
Well, I'd like
not
one
while the,
before you approve the plan, so that
Okay.
we can confirm the design, and then they need to provide us with a design for those pocket pools. They have a certain size that they need to be. We don't want them to be mud puddles. They have to hold, be able to contain water so that they're, not full mosquito breeding areas, and it has an appropriate design. And it may be done, it wasn't provided, so. And I did want to review with them. I know they did describe it in their letter and it may be accurate, but I was thinking that we have, the, what they call it, the
pig blanket?
pig blanket, which I researched it and it sounds very interesting, and I have another site that I'm tempted to use it on.
Okay,
But my question is we have it at the outlet, but we're intercepting groundwater in the basin. So what's the difference? Why do we have it at the outlet only when we're already in contact with groundwater?
Back here?
Back in the basin.
So it should be in a different place, maybe?
I guess I just need clarification on how, what their thought process in that design, especially when I believe Prime is the one who did the soil remediation on site, so they should really they may be able to answer it. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay,
We actually have, I had a number of questions when they talked about the new pig idea. And they had said that they had never used it before. This would be a new application. And I had some questions and concerns specifically about, had they talked to the manufacturer? Had they reviewed previous use case on other properties? Because the way that they were planning on not installing it, but holding it in place was essentially going to squish the pig, for lack of any better way to put it. And I had concerns about if in a flooding event, high water, that they said, well, no, it'll slow the water flow through there, which means more time in contact, more time to decontaminate, which is all well and good, unless you slow it so much that you now have a backup upstream before it hits the pig, and now you're creating a flooding situation of untreated water as a backflow because of the high volume water. So I had wanted them to do a little bit more research about their method of securing the pig in place.
Okay.
Because the ones that I've seen have had, interval straps, not just compressing the whole entire pig.
Right.
And I think it's a great solution if implemented right, but if implemented not quite right. It could just move the flooding to another place and again, have it be untreated. And there's already issues with some of the other work that's been done just to the south of where that buffer line is and where they're putting the pig. That upland, there's been a lot of, if you go back and you walk, there's been a lot of work done there.
Yeah.
And change in sort of the landscape.
Yep.
So that was a big concern that I had about the pig. Not using it, just making sure that it was researched and it was being implemented in the right place and secured in an appropriate fashion for the situation here, so that we're not creating more flooding than especially the abutters have historically had already.
Well, I made one other question, as to whether or not, you know, they've got a serpentine sort of flow pattern in the basin and then they outlet. And I looked at that long pipe and I'm going, oh, you're going to be disturbing that whole section. Is there any way that they could sort of flip the flow pattern so that you're outletting and discharging to the wetland on site? I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but you're still going into that same sort of flow pattern, but at least it's on property first. So that you would take the spillway and put it sort of where the drain pipe is now and put the drain pipe coming in and see if we could get it. And I think they mentioned something about invert, so I haven't had a chance to fully look at that, but I thought that might be a way of not having, and I guess it's a question for the commission, whether they'd feel more comfortable having that discharge sort of out into that channelized section before it flows off property and all that disturbance in that wooded area, or discharging it upstream of that wetland resource.
I think that's comment 7.
Is it? Yeah, so
I think
it was a hefty one.
Their response, or I believe that was it.
Right. So they are going into their inverts, and I will have to go into the study and look at that.
It would be preferable to keep it on site, on their own site, as long as it's,
So you would get, you know, and it all depends on, you know, how you feel about this one wetland that's on property, you know, because you would be providing flow to that. Ultimately, we assume that it's clean coming from the basin. But that has an overflow and outlet, so you could be holding and detaining more water on site, like Nancy, you were mentioning. It still flows out that sort of man-made channel into that culvert, cross culvert under Winway.
that's pretty steep slope down. I mean, I can't see that would be any flooding problem because that's pretty steep slope going down into that wetland.
Yeah, so that outlet would have to be at the same elevation as the wetland, elevation 77-ish, or just below 77.
Okay,
So it would be, you'd have to cut through that whole slope to discharge, but you're excavating through it anyway.
right, and then you're saying that with the trees and everything, with that long, and also whether that pig blanket thing should be further.
Oh, yeah,
Or-
away from the stream,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody? John?
This would be on me. So it's coming from the basin into that little pocket of wetland, and then ultimately, if that fills, it goes under the road one way.
So, no, they've got an outlet in the
Forcing it
basin.
into the basin instead of the wetland.
So it flows out of that pipe that you see and bypasses the wetland.
Okay.
And the little pig contraption is, at the end of that discharge pipe, right next to the
They're
swale.
sending it all over this way.
Oh,
They're
How does-
taking it from here and treating it with the pig here and sending it.
yeah, but that's at 78. And this is at 83, how do you send it up to?
We cut through.
They're gonna cut it down to 75. So there's a ton of
They want-
grading.
Oh, I see.
They're gonna
Okay,
excavate to
okay.
grade down.
I got you.
So instead of doing all of that sort of, that's what I just wanted to ask to see if they could minimize, since we're already doing a berm here and altering it for the spillway, whether we could put a shorter outlet,
Right.
kind of flip that and, but
But they're saying no.
right now they are, but I haven't
Well,
had a chance.
depends
to
if it's a
talk to them.
hard no or what. I mean, why are they saying no? Is it impossible? Or is it just harder? I mean, those are the questions I think I would, is it just
Right.
harder? Or is it more expensive? Or why no?
I think because they probably have to make the basin bigger to make it work.
Okay,
Because they would probably need more volume within the basin. But since I don't know what the proposed development is, I
Well, right
don't
now
know
it's
if
all
there's a
parking,
problem of making that basin bigger.
Just up front,
They're all
But,
parked right here
yeah.
now, right? Right where the basin is.
inappropriately, yeah, that's where all the trucks and the stuff that's been
Trailers
being
and-
pulled out, the old vehicles and.
What are you guys gonna use it for?
You have any ideas?
I'm asking you.
I honestly, at some point, we have nothing that any.
I'm sorry, stop.
Oh,
Would you please, you have to come up to the microphone. I've already got myself in trouble once tonight.
We might as well ask.
That's my phone.
And identify yourself.
Kenny Kupferberg, I'm the owner's rep for 160 Bedford Street and 160 Rear Bedford Street.
Okay,
So you don't have a plan for the use yet?
No, not like we're building a hotel or we're doing condos or storage units. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that's on the table as far as long-term use of what the property's gonna be. Nothing.
What's it used for now?
There's some storage trailers, our equipment,
Storage, is your own personal storage stuff?
most of it.
Yeah.
There's some parking out front, right?
Yeah, there are a few
For the-
from northeast.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there are maybe 3 or 4 cars a day there.
that's it.
Yeah, it's, and we're in front of the planning board on Thursday. Hi, by the way.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Is there a different plan submitted to, that was gonna be one of my questions
Just
too.
for, for parking to handle, business in Lakeville that uses the lot theoretically for their overflow parking for their employees. That is.
but the
only-
planning board has the same plan. They have everything we have. I mean, the plans all match because I think I already made sure of that.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Okay,
Again, our attorney is working on that stuff. But as far as long-term.
So you realize that we could, whatever, once this is all worked out, we can approve this. But if you change what you want to do there, this
I'm
may
sure,
not be appropriate.
I understand that. I wish I had something to tell you that we were gonna do, and
Normally
2
the-
years from now, here's what's gonna happen, but I don't, so.
So
I am-
nobody tells you anything, right?
Pardon me?
Nobody tells you anything, right? You can only tell us what they tell you.
Yeah, and as, to the best of my knowledge, there are no immediate plans to construct anything.
but you've got a plan for a septic system.
It's been there for a long time, and
Okay.
right, that's correct.
And then there was a building on one of the other plans, so I guess we're all just saying the same thing as this would be a very expensive proposition over here, and then a couple of years down the road, if you do something else over here, this isn't gonna be appropriate any longer, and you're gonna have to do it again.
Well, I would hope that if we're gonna have to do it again, we have some concrete plan that's gonna be a revenue generating plan that will
Help
certainly
pay for
offset
it.
any of the costs associated with having to come back here again, but I don't have I can't tell you that there's anything that would alter what we're talking about today as far as plans go.
For what it's worth, I think that we sort of almost need to pause, get the wetlands clearly delineated, and then ask them to come in and explain, have Prime come in and explain how and why they engineered this way and discuss the alternatives. Understanding that you don't have a crystal ball, can't see, let's presume that no work is gonna be done, no new buildings or anything, but we're gonna go with some way to remediate the issues that are going on. We need to have those wetlands appropriately marked, and then there are questions about why this was designed this way, answers about some of the materials that they're gonna be using, what's the cleanup work gonna be like. I just think there's been so much confusion because the plans have changed or not known the submissions, the amendments, because of the findings. And I think we can't assume too much until we actually know what the property lays out like and then why they designed this
Well,
plan.
I think that we need to deal with, our peer review has come up with quite a few concerns.
Yes.
I thought that Rich from Prime was gonna be here, and I still think he's gonna be here.
No, I talked to them this afternoon. This is basically for us to talk to our consultant about some, because they've had a week. I gave them till Tuesday to give their response, to Deb, and, they only just, it's a holiday weekend, so I gave them Tuesday. I don't know, we got it late Tuesday, so there was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's 3 days, and it's a holiday weekend. She's had 3 days, so she hasn't had the time to respond formally, but we asked her to come to just tell the concerns and answer some of our questions so we can figure out where we're going and give her some direction. She needs some direction from us of how we want to proceed. And so that's why we're here tonight.
To say and vice versa, it sounds like she has asked questions that they have not yet provided
Right.
answers to.
Yeah,
and
I
we
wasn't
need-
aware that Prime wasn't gonna be here tonight. This was, from what I read on the agenda, that, Prime was gonna be here tonight, and, they had submitted stuff last week. So I assume that it's gonna get continued again.
Yes,
Okay,
and she will respond, because I think she's probably just about close to being able to respond to them, so, but then they need to, I'll give them a time limit again, when they need to get back to us, because you can't expect her to respond in 3 days.
again,
Okay, it's not your
get it,
fault, I know,
get it,
Kenny.
I get it.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna reiterate too, that, if we need to reconfirm the wetland line, that should be sort of
First thing.
step one,
Yeah. I agree.
so.
And we want it, so, because we're gonna get a peer reviewer for the wetland line, because it's never been approved on either the back or the front. No, the other way around, back or the front.
And their response on number 11 was, future work will have a building and paved surfaces. So what is the intent and the location of that? We need to know what that is gonna be.
Haven't seen all of it, so I can't tell you, but I know that
That was,
They're gonna get a response to this, and they need
Yeah,
to
it was,
answer
it was right on their response, like she said, the future will have a building and paved surfaces, but like I guess you're saying it could be, after we're all gone, I don't know.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I know it's not gonna happen in the imminent future.
I mean, I can completely appreciate the engineer's thought process to try to design the stormwater to accommodate a future development. But it does sort of confuse things with the permitting process, because you're permitting something for something you don't see yet on a plan. And then, it could be 5-10 years from now, you go back and everybody goes, oh no, that was designed for this, and you don't really know that.
It's all above my pay grade. Way above my pay
Yeah.
grade.
So that's sort of why, even if they put whatever future in assumptions that Prime made should be shown on here, saying future building, future parking, so that you know what this basin was designed, or any of the stormwater was designed for on this plan. And then moving forward 10 years from now, or 2 years from now, if you find a use for it and you need to modify something, you know what you're modifying from.
I understand what you're saying. It's still above my pay grade.
But I'll reach out to Prime and I can
Okay.
have that same conversation.
Okay.
So that hopefully we can get to a plan that
We
we can
all
all
agree with.
put the
Put it-
puzzles together.
Just can't do anything until we define the wetlands.
Wetlands, yep.
Okay, so
We need that
what's your
clarity.
next step in this process of defining the wetlands?
We're leaving up to our peer reviewer to get a, peer reviewer for the wetlands that you need to, I guess, have Prime or yourself or whomever, the way that they're delineated on the plan is to go flag it in the field, and then we'll go and send a peer reviewer out to agree with it or not agree with it.
Okay,
Because looking back through all the huge files and everything, it's only just come to light. Rich thinks that the RDA that was filed, and the line was carried through all plans, but we went back and pulled up the RDA and we never approved the line.
so, we'll get with Rich,
Okay,
okay?
And he
figure
can
out
get
who's
somebody
gonna-
out there to flag
Who's
that.
gonna go and flag,
all the wetlands for both,
no, for both,
Yep,
both sides.
everything on
No,
here.
no, I get,
even over here.
all right, we'll have communication
Okay,
in the next day or so.
okay.
Awesome.
Can you let me know, or when you, whoever you choose, you know, is gonna go out and do the delineation, so
Yeah,
I have that piece in my mind.
no, and then, you know, whenever somebody's gonna go out there and review that, I need to know who's gonna go out there and when they're going out there.
Yeah, it just
Okay,
helps.
and that, yeah, that can go, because Mark's gonna go out with the peer reviewer when he goes, correct?
Okay, that's fine, I need some notice.
Sure.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, it
fine.
is private property.
Yeah, and
Well, wait a minute. It's private property, but you have a notice of intent before us and you've signed off that we can be on the property,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
Okay.
But commenters, I just wanna know.
Well, we will be
No.
respectable and we'll call you, let you know when we're coming, but,
And I'm never saying you haven't been,
okay, all right.
okay? And, you know, and again,
See
we're
that,
trying
John?
on our end to do what we can.
I want to go to your.
I would give you a heads up if I was, you know,
So,
just,
thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so are we all, anything else?
No, I think that's enough for now.
I agree.
wetland delineation.
Yeah, I think that sounds like that's the starting point.
Do we have a copy of the initial letter that you sent them that then kicked this off?
If not, I have this copy here. I should have a copy of it.
Mark? Oh, he's leaving. Huh? Will you just grab this copy so we can all, oh, I'm sorry.
What do you want me to do?
She's got a copy of the letter. Will you just grab that so that we can give it to Lori so we can all get a copy of her original letter?
Okay.
I want to be able to
I
follow
don't think we
things in
got that. I
order.
think we only got the second one.
Yeah, I only have the response from Prime
All right.
with their comment, with the
Oh,
comments
make
back and
copies.
forth. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, Lori will scan it and email it to
email it
all of
around.
us,
Okay.
okay?
she should have, I sent it to her via PDF,
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
have it.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not
I don't
it's
remember
just-
seeing
it's
it,
not-
but my laptop died, so I've been a little behind the eight ball.
There's just been so much change back and forth that I want to make sure that as we move forward and have the wetlands delineated and then we approve that delineation and move forward, especially since these plans have changed, what was submitted over the summer, what we have now, make sure that we have everything in a timeline order.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
I can appreciate that, because I think that's what I
Yes,
was
yes.
trying
yeah.
to do as well.
I think that we need to, yeah, you have to come up, Tim. We'd like to, this isn't a butter, so before we will give him the opportunity to,
Oh, yeah.
Good, Lee.
Tim Wynn, One Win Way in Lakeville. I have some questions. When this all started, I've been on Win Way since I built the house in 2020. this area here, where's the thing that goes across my driveway right here? This area all in here, that fill was raised multiple feet. If you go into the wetlands, you can kind of see they built the whole thing, I want to say anywhere from 5 to 10 feet. I walked the dog there for years on that property, and it was all muck, and you had to walk around it. So at one point, there was a lot of, I call it dirty fill. It looked like construction debris, like old,
Urban fill.
and they had brought it in those dump trucks, the 10-wheelers, and left it there. And then that's how they ended up building the grade up. So since that grade has been this last year, my driveway all started cracking. This whole hill was taken out, and this was all done without any oversight. No one's permission, nothing. So my question is, how does this get rectified? Like, do you know what I mean? They did the testing over here. They didn't really ever test in those test pits. We found arsenic, we found other heavy metals in there. So they've literally created a parking lot out of swamp without anyone's permission from you guys. I had sent a letter as you requested. I don't know if you got it, but I sent it. My concern is now my driveway's cracking. Now I've overheard talk today about dumping more water into that. Last year it was up to my driveway. Does that now go over my driveway?
No, with the stormwater management, they have to make sure that they're not, increasing flow from existing conditions.
They took a massive hill out.
Yeah, I can only go from
Yeah,
the
wait,
existing conditions that they're
But do you know what I'm
showing,
saying?
but
They took a
yes.
massive hill, so
Yeah.
now water runs downhill.
Yeah, yeah,
And then over here where it was all swamp,
now it's filled.
correct.
Yeah.
And they were able to level it out to the front piece, which before, and then over here, between here, there was a little creek that connected to that other wetland. That's now all filled in. So, in hearing this greenhouse person that you were talking, and a concern about a dirt pile, I mean, this guy put 12-foot high hedges of dirt that all run into my property. I found dead spotted turtles. I have pictures of them.
So
I
when
mean,
we're doing the test pits for the basin, which is where I think you're saying that they were filling, is that
well,
gonna?
where does is this what you have where it is now?
So this is the wetland, and it's got the little channel that kind of flows out, and this must meander down into
Yeah.
this. So this is your all these lines is your steep slope. and
Right
then
now.
this is- Right now. And
So then
this
it
is
would
the
be over
wetland.
here. If this is where the steep slope
Slope
is, it would be all over here. So that's why we asked originally to go back to the 20-year map to find out what was done. You guys don't know what was done.
No, we don't. And DEP went back and there was no, DEP does the oversight thing where it shows where Phil has been, but there was nothing on any of the historic DEP stuff.
Yeah. You can go back on Google Earth, because I did it, and kind of go and watch the aerials of the site and see how it slowly opened up. And that's kind of why I started out with surprised how they got a natural heritage letter, because this whole back piece is in habitat. And they got a no-take letter.
So do they need to do it again? Do they need another natural heritage letter with the new plan?
It depends on what that limit of work was on the plan that they submitted to get that no-take.
All right, so we need to look that up.
And we're coming back to what is the predicted use of the property?
Right. And I would suspect that if Natural Heritage went out there, unless the site's been cleaned up since we did our site visit, not sure they would be too thrilled with what's in
Has DEP
habitat.
gone on
It
site?
wasn't last year, or
No.
last
Oh.
week. I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
last
no,
week when I was
this-
out there, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's why when they started bringing that stuff in, I'm like, they're just building this parking lot before they get your permission, is what they're doing.
So I'm gonna have Lori look up what was originally submitted. I feel like we did this a ways back. This has been just kind of snowballing around all the boards for so long
Yeah.
that, I will,
About a lot of stuff.
Well, we looked at it when it was submitted last summer, but the only requirement was, did they send to Natural Heritage and did they get a response? And that's outside of our,
But the junkyard stuff they have, I know it's not your purview, but that also wrecks the ground. How do we know it didn't come out of those trucks? And you're allowing the trucks to stay as this project goes. I mean, to me, the common sense thing is get it all out of there and apply normally. And I don't know if that's your purview, but
It's not.
we don't even know it's in the trucks.
we
It's-
can't make them
It's
remove that.
aromatic.
What?
Aromatic, whatever is in they've got them cracked, the trailer, the rear door,
You can smell them?
yeah, 20 feet away.
but
Something.
if the plans change from what originally Natural Heritage looks at, they need to send, in fact, I'm sure it would say that in Natural Heritage letter, if things change, they need to know. So I'm gonna have Lori,
But my
Look it up.
question is, they did all this work without your permission, and they did it in swampy land. And then I'm sitting here listening to other things that you guys are talking about, and this is,
Well, it's different when somebody comes to you beforehand to do the right kind of permitting than trying to go back and deal with it after.
yeah, but I've been on this since last June.
I get it, but if you're asking us to enforce an order to
No, I'm not
remove
asking you to
that
force
stuff,
because the town's not enforcing anything. Do you know what I mean? They said
I
they were
do.
gonna charge them $300 a day to remove those cars, and they never charged them.
yeah, I really can't speak to that, but who would be?
But like on the
enforcement?
arsenic, like,
It would be DEP, right? We don't really have enforcement.
I've been talking to somebody at DEP since the first day and sending them all the enforcement orders and things,
I mean, can we
so
ask them to come out and look at it?
we could.
How can it hurt? Maybe we can get a DEP.
well, I mean, I went there at the beginning, and then they
You
asked
went
me.
to DEP
Correct,
Okay.
before I went to see anyone.
and they told you.
And
to
they
come here?
told you I had to go through you guys
Yeah.
before they would get involved.
And I've called and they want local to handle it before it gets to the point of with the arsenic stuff. I sent all that to DEP.
But my question
didn't
is
escalate to
they
the level of them.
they did
Right.
those test pits.
Yep.
But how do we know how far it went? And no one looked at where they brought all that, I call it dirty fill. I don't know if.
Yeah, that's all been, they
No,
had to
but it was
do with
over
a
here,
chain of,
I don't think they did any test pits over
Chain of
here.
custody.
chain of custody for the arsenic.
But I don't think they did any over
Well, we
here.
have a plan that shows
So,
where
yeah.
where
Yeah.
these test pits were done.
You got all those, I sent you everything.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
know, but they didn't do anywhere they brought that dirty fill is what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
They did test pits where the new scope of, or what was proposed, the scope of work.
And then
was
some
going
of my
to be.
other questions are, as Donna and myself, we kind of go from Route 18 all around the property. And Donna owns that whole side of the property, and there's no buffer at all right now. There's nothing. They've just, and now the water is running into her property. running-
That's exactly what we're looking at addressing right now.
Right.
We
And
can't
that's what,
fix
yeah, but
anything
that's
from
what's
20 years ago.
happening, right? It's
Right,
been
but that's
happening.
what,
Un- understood.
that's what this basin is supposed to deal with.
That's what we're
Runoff
trying to
and keeping everything
remediate
But
that.
it wouldn't have happened if he did not
You
increase the.
can't go
si-
back and say that.
Yeah, but you should be able to fine him or call
We
the.
don't have
We
findings.
don't
We have any finding powers at all, that would have to be the DEP, and like I say, they've been informed every step of the way, and
Well,
if you,
maybe it's
if,
time
even
for
if they
them
come
that
in, Tim, even if they come in and say, there's nothing there now, I mean, they could tell them to put up a siltation device on the site, but they're gonna say it's being rectified.
But how about those 12-foot, whatever those things are, I don't know how high they are, but those mounds you put all around.
The berm he built?
Yeah, I mean, that's still there, that water's running, my driveway's cracked now. So
Well,
what's my recourse on that?
so you always have civil recourse against an abutter. Like if you believe you were harmed by something he did, you can take him to civil court.
Correct, but do you know what I mean? If that, are you allowed to put those 12-foot things up right on the wetlands? I mean, he did it, and nothing's been done about it.
What
Well,
did
this
you
whole
think
thing is
about?
what's
The
being
mulch-
done about it.
Mulch piles
Well, they're
around?
not mulch, they're dirt with mulch
Mulch
over
on
the
the
top.
top,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well,
almost
I didn't
like
dig through it, I just saw the
asphalt.
mulch.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
top.
It looks
Yeah.
like shavings from some trees on
Yeah,
another
yeah.
site.
I mean, I was assuming that they were fully mulch, it's kind of disappointing to hear that it's dirt
Underneath.
because.
No, and they were talking about this, people that were here with the greenhouse, and they have a little pile of dirt, and you're telling them to cover it. We got it.
Just because we're aware of that.
Yeah.
That we're.
Yeah, but
we
you've
can't-
been aware of this, I
But
mean,
the-
you've seen it.
I honestly was happy to see that,
The
because
berm?
the berm.
Keeps it all-
Keeps it on the property rather than having it flow through here. So,
But, I mean.
So
they're-
this whole
they're-
thing is how, is what we can do to deal with this problem.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
I've
the
been patient.
multiple
I've been
meetings
patient.
we've been having, I get it, you
I
know,
mean, it's been going on.
I understand your
since-
position.
Yeah,
You know, we're doing what we can. I mean, if you're looking for something beyond that,
no, I'm
then
just.
really DEP's the only one that can come in, fine them, or have them remove what's there. I
But
don't.
let's say there's this parking lot, right?
Yep,
I would assume there has to be buffer zones and fencing or whatever. Is that planning board and
Yeah,
not
that's,
you guys?
that would be the
That there's
planning
gotta be-
board for the fencing and
Yeah,
things
I
like
mean,
that.
and that's why I asked if there was another plan, because I have not seen.
Yeah, and then there's no setbacks for this?
That's planning board too.
The basin, unless there's a local setback, the state setbacks for stormwater is 10 feet from the property line. And that's just, under DEP, but the town may have, like, planning board may have other setbacks.
The planning board have looked at this, the selectmen have looked at this, and it's come back to that they really can't, the selectmen were going to fine and then find out it's not in our charter that they can fine, so they can't fine either. So, like I say, and everything I've done to DEP, and the answer is they want your local to handle it, which is what we're trying to do. So, I think this is a big step because our peer reviewer's they've
Well, yeah.
responded to some and she's gonna come up with another plan.
But, I mean, we don't even know how many cars they're trying to get in, how big the space is. We don't know any of that, right? And your thing, like, how much is the parking area covered? I mean, this doesn't seem,
Is the parking lot contingent on what and how many they're gonna put? That would be planning board of how many vehicles
That's
would
their
go
permit. That's
there.
their
I
permit,
believe
planning
to
board.
do what they wanna do, they need a license from the town.
Yeah,
they don't have a license. That's been the whole problem.
right.
But didn't they address that and try to apply for one?
What's
Weren't
that?
That was for
Selectmen
the,
dealing
that
with
was for the unpermitted,
They were trying to
storage
get
of
the
vehicles.
unregistered vehicles and they got bounced, and then they were trying to get something else to say that they were just taking cars and shipping them off.
Yeah.
And they have to be in the prime business of that. And then he mentioned today that it was his, storage stuff. It's not. In prior meetings, he said it right in public that it was, he has four different leases, all verbal, going on with different people, including Haitians bringing cars.
Okay, now we're getting off. We need to
No,
stay
no, but
in
what
our.
I'm saying
I know,
is,
but
this
we
has
need
been
to
going
stay in
on.
our lane.
He's been doing what he.
Tim,
Way off
may I
topic.
speak, please?
Way off topic.
We need to stay on point of what we can do as a conservation commission. And I think we've been very,
You have.
as a board, we're the ones who have taken every step and gone forward, okay? I think we need to let our consultant go home.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know what was there prior to that, especially if you're gonna start flagging wetlands, because I personally would think over here was wetlands. Or you would have considered it a
Right,
wetland.
and we're gonna have a consultant review whatever they flag. And our consultant's gonna handle that. We're putting it all on her right now, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
But the question is, they flag the wetlands that exist now, correct? They do not flag the wetlands that exist
Well,
prior
they'll
to
go
bringing.
back.
They'll go
They
back.
They
and
can,
look
they
at,
can look historically at some stuff, you know,
they have to go back and flag the ORAD, like what was agreed upon previously.
Right.
And that was delineated, and then we're gonna compare that they flagged appropriately
But
to
that
what was
ORAD
agreed
would have been in
upon.
the past 2 years, right?
No.
No,
This
that's
was
a long
back
time
in
ago.
2017,
Yeah,
2018.
so they're gonna
Oh,
go
so that-
flag what was
oh,
agreed
oh.
upon wetlands, and then we're gonna go in and say,
Yeah, so that was prior to
This-
him owning that, right?
yes.
Can I just see where they're gonna put this drainage? Is it along where
Come
my
up,
line
come up
is?
here.
Take a look at the map.
Tim, let Donna have a chance. You gotta be by the microphone and identify yourself, Donna.
I guess.
Donna Catano,
So Winway is here,
right?
Bedford Street's here, so we're coming into the site. The basin they would like to build is in this corner.
Okay.
Right where all the
'Cause
trucks are parked now.
I think
Where all the
this is
trailers are.
my property here. Is
Yes,
it-
it's
is that
all the
me?
way, all that top
Okay,
part
I
of the
didn't
page
know
is all
whether,
yours.
because they graded it and the water's coming more on my property.
Yep.
But I wondered if they were gonna try to put something else to drain here and go under the road, because they closed that up. Mass Dot, if there's no
Yeah.
drainage coming
Right.
off my property anymore, the water that comes there stays there. And I just didn't know, if they were gonna put more drainage there.
It actually looks like they're trying to move the high point from, over here, up here, so that they're reducing the amount of flow that comes here and trying to direct most of the water to that basin out back. But again, we're looking at, I think we have 4 design points, this being one design point, over here being another. I think this pond is one, and this is another design point that they have.
Well, I just didn't wanna see any more water.
Water.
Because when the land was there, when they filled it in and gravelled it, and then they parked their trucks like this, it's draining all on my property. Not all of it, but I mean, the trucks never move, so when we have the heavy rain, it comes off and is on my property, and I do have a lot of wetland. But it's starting to come towards my house now,
Yeah.
so I'm more concerned.
Understand, part of the reason we want to get some of this work done is because it will remediate.
Right,
Yeah,
and
some
you
of those-
guys,
yeah,
you
those
have been
issues.
trying,
Yeah.
but it takes more than this one meeting. We need more people in town that are concerned. But that's all, I'm not gonna, because I can't even get the buffer zone enforced. These are
The
10
planning,
foot
the
buffer.
planning setback, yes.
Yeah, but, all right, well, thank you.
All right, no, those were just my things, and then just one of the things, you reviewed the arsenic and all that too, right? That was part of what you
I
did.
reviewed the report,
Okay.
so I did reread what they did, the testing and
Yeah,
and
and
the end
I
results.
believe they found it somewhere over here.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a few test,
Yeah,
a handful of test pits
but
in here.
this is where I was kind of more concerned, is where I personally saw the dirty fill. And I
We
don't
have
know.
proof that that went, what, up to Canada or some such
New York.
place?
New York,
was it
went to New York.
Yeah.
Everything goes to upstate New York.
But then I
Okay.
just, no, but the conservation's been great trying to get to the bottom of this, but now we have like planning, so I would assume that's not gonna go forward
We're sharing
now.
everything that we get from our peer reviewer with the planning board and the board of selectmen.
Okay.
So her report, but that's what's only started. I mean, she had all those questions, and now they've answered some of the questions. She's not satisfied with that thing, so she's doing an additional, and
But I have a question too on the stormwater. Wouldn't that be subject to how many parking spots you're supposed to get, or how much is gonna be paved
Well,
and how
that's
much
one of my
is gonna
questions
be grass?
is-
And I mean, just common sense would be like, if you're putting this much pavement in,
Right.
then you don't need that much stormwater. But if you're trying to pave
Yes.
the whole piece of property.
That's why I'm curious why they would try to design something without a plan.
And that's where we had the outstanding question that in their response, it says future building and parking. We want that laid out in the plan.
Like to see where the parking lot is, so that way I can voice something to the planning board to say, I need a buffer and I don't wanna be looking at these trailers or RVs or boats or whatever's there now.
so you're gonna respond
Yes,
like soon, and
Yep.
then I'm gonna give them a deadline when they have to get back to you. The problem was that it's only basically 3 days that you've
Yeah,
had to look
yeah.
at that. That's not enough time to have our peer reviewer respond, so they need to respond quickly and get out there and flag it. And, so what I need right now is a motion
To continue?
to continue.
So
To what date?
5/13?
Yes,
Motion to continue
But the-
160 Bedford Street to 5/13/25 at 6:30 PM here at the police station.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Okay,
right, great.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll get started with Brad and see if he's willing to, do the peer review, and
Okay,
if I have any issues with that, I'll reach out to you, Mark.
Okay, thanks, Phil.
yeah, and if for some reason he can't do it, there's also Brandon that
Sure.
reviews, he's really good too. I don't know if you've ever used Brandon.
I haven't, but I'm always happy to meet someone new, so,
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
okay.
you.
Sam.
Would you say the 13th? I just.
13,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the agenda.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to
You
meet
too, good
you.
evening, thank you. Okay, so back to the agenda. Next up would be,
Motion to continue 17 Shore Ave.
oh, wait a minute.
Isn't that the next one?
Oh,
Yes, it is the
yeah,
next one.
I got two other things to read in.
Oh,
What are they?
We don't have to open it to continue it though.
You sure?
We just
you
wouldn't
can if it
open.
makes you feel better.
Yeah, no, I think we need to open it and continue it, otherwise I'm gonna have
I
to do
think
this
you're
again.
right, Nancy.
Yeah, I do think I'm right too. What's the, yeah, 17 Shore Avenue, okay. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Wetlands Protection Act, the Lakeville Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on 4/22/25 at 6:30 PM at the Lakeville Police Station, 323 Bedford Street, on a request for determination of applicability. The applicant, Louvermet, is proposing installation of a new stone patio, retaining wall, new stone pillars, fence, and grass. The project is located at 17 Shore Avenue and is also identified as Assessor's Map 41, Block 9, Lot 3.
Motion to open the hearing?
Yeah.
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, at the request of the applicant, now I need a motion to continue to,
Same property we're talking about now,
wait,
right?
I got 313 on all of these. 513 at 6:30 PM at Lakeville Police Station.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done. All right, so next is 2 Shamrock Lane at the request of, Zenith Consulting Engineers. Motion to continue to 5/13 at 6:30 PM at the Lakeville Police Station for 2 Shamrock Lane. We don't have a number on it yet.
Did we have a reason for that?
So moved.
Second.
It's confusing between 44 Cross Street and 2 Shamrock Lane. There's a lot of things we need to look into.
Okay.
It's very complicated. So we got 2 weeks to figure it out. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Motion to approve
so what's this
your
one?
meeting on the,
What
your
is- oh, wait a minute.
memo on the quarterly meetings.
No, wait a minute, back it up.
3 Mona Street?
No, 2 Shamrock, I didn't read that, we can't continue it, I didn't read the, it into the,
Oh,
Shamrock is the swimming pool,
it's too
right?
late now.
back it up.
It's too late?
I'll just have to do this again next time,
That's
that's why, okay.
Go for it.
According to the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetland Protection Act, there will be a hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Jessica and Scott Connell for the construction of an in-ground swimming pool with associated patio and grading within 100-foot bordering vegetated wetland. Also is the rerouting of a water service from the house to the existing well. The location of the project is 2 Shamrock Lane, Lakeville, Mass, map 22, block 3, lot 2-09. The public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 PM at the Lakeville Police Station, 323 Bedford Street, Lakeville.
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so once again, 2
Motion to
Shamrock Lane.
table 2 Shamrock Lane to 5/13/25 at 6:30 PM at the police station.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so Bedford Street. All right, the memo that I wrote about the,
Do you want to do 3 Mona Street? Do we have to continue that again?
oh, okay, I thought I did. Yeah, we do have to do 3 Mona Street. Okay, at the request of the applicant, Zenas Consulting, they have asked to continue to 5/13.
So moved.
192, 933, at the Lakeville Police Station, 6:30 PM on 5/13.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And do they not have for Shamrock Lane, they don't have a file number yet, which is why the X's are there, right? And we're
Correct.
assuming that they will have it by the time we roll around to the 13th, correct?
Well, if DEP sends it,
Okay.
we have to wait for DEP to send it,
Well,
so.
we can still, you can open it.
They might be what would you say? They might be commenting. Who knows?
Okay.
Sometimes they might have
Okay.
to send it to someone else. I don't know why we don't have a file number. Anyway, okay, so quarterly meetings, there was a vote on a planning board memo, regarding interdepartmental meetings. This is the memo that I sent back. It was kind of, we weren't.
So
none
do
of
we
the-
have to approve it if you already sent it?
No, just FYI.
All right, great.
All right, so, done. Silt sock policy, where's the pictures? Did we get pictures of the silt socks? Yeah, there they are. We had talked about this last time and I said I would put it on the agenda. We've never had the policy that, a lot of times we get all different kinds of siltation, including hay bale that's like in a netting that you kick with your foot and all the hay jumps out.
So I have a
That
quick,
doesn't hold anything back.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Are there different types of erosion control for different situations?
For different
Are there some
slopes
that
and
work better
materials?
than others
Yep.
in different situations?
Yep.
So do we wanna vote to approve one specific one for everything?
You can't,
Okay.
can't.
I think
But part of the
my
planning-
preferred is
Yeah.
the silt sock. But
right.
if there's places, other types of situations where something else would work better,
And I think what we should do is specify in our order of conditions, instead of saying siltation device, we specify what we want them to use.
Yep. Just part of the
Depending
planning.
on the situation.
Depending on the
well, the
situation.
other thing is, when engineers do notices of intent, they propose the type of erosion control,
And we can
so,
push back on it.
yeah, we can if we want to. or-
Yeah, okay, I agree. I'm just saying we should probably remain consistent on what kinds of, like on a steep slope,
Well, I think anything like near the pond,
okay?
probably silt fence is probably the best thing, right? That solid plastic that keeps, well, if
But they
anything.
usually if they do that, they usually do the hay bale line too.
Hay bales,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can do a silt sock with it.
yeah.
Yeah, we can ask, especially for steep grades near the open water, ask for them to double.
Yeah.
And I will teach all the engineers how to properly spell wattle.
I guess my only thing is we remain consistent on how,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How we do it. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and then we'll be specific in our order of conditions,
Right.
site
Right.
specific.
It should be,
Yeah.
it should be on site plans at least, and then we can comment.
There should be just a general line, siltation controls appropriate for the lot, for the design, something like that. Simple sentence will cover it.
All right, Joe, you're up.
Nope, we got quarterly meetings, we talk about that?
We did.
We did.
Okay,
And we talked about silt sock policy, okay, meeting minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of Lakeville Conservation Commission meeting of February 22nd, 2025, as presented to us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Agent updates, you're up, Mark.
I don't really have anything earth shattering. I've been trying to work with different residents and, respond to different questions. For example, this tree removal we have down in Churchill Shores. I spoke to the resident, I think I've already talked about this, but to follow up on that, I'm gonna share a list of tree removal services. Like, I don't wanna just leave them like you're on your own. Here's, and it has a disclaimer, the
Yeah,
list
just
we
be
have.
careful about suggesting that.
Yeah, we have there's a list that Lori has that has a
And-
disclaimer. This is not none of these are recommendations, but,
Right.
But what Mark and I have discussed about the filing, this is like the tallest pine tree I've seen.
Yeah, this was a
It's-
monster.
It's a monster. They want to drop it in the wetland, all
And
right?
leave it there?
yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing, my thought, which we had
Think about
talked
the
about.
nourishment.
Huh?
Think about the nourishment.
No, think about
Matt?
the endangered species.
I mean,
I would
That would
say,
love to
Naturally.
climb
if
on
they're
it.
gonna drop it in the wetland and wanna leave it there, then they're gonna need a full notice of intent, because it will have to go to natural heritage, because I don't know that it's not gonna take other stuff down. It's gonna squish whatever endangered species might be there. It also might hit the pond. There's a house,
Oh, you can't have it.
it's on somebody else's property, it's on Churchill Shores property.
Oh,
Well, trees fall in wetlands and into ponds all the time.
Yeah.
So we don't.
But this is a beautiful, healthy tree he's chopping down and gonna wants to leave in the wetland, so if he can get someone to come in with a crane and get it out of there without leaving it in the wetland, I think an RDA would be all right, but if he's gonna drop it, and wants to leave it in the wetland, we need like DEP comments, cause I talked to another agent in another town, started asking me about, well, you gotta check for the brown bat, it's endangered. That's what you do on the trees now, and I'm like, okay. I thought bats lived in people's barns and belfries, but
My concern is with that, to your point, John, that, yeah, that occurs naturally, it provides structure, all kinds of stuff. But given that it's an equity thing, in my mind, I'm hesitant to say, sure, drop it and leave it. And then the next person.
No, we would have to research it, but
Right.
to assume that
well, you can't drop it on somebody else's property.
property.
well, that's the other thing also. I don't know if
Just
that
can't-
wetland is, but at the edge, okay, so there's the house,
Mm-hmm.
there's a strip of wetland, and then there's Long Pond. This is Churchill Shores, so I know on that shoreline, of Long Pond is endangered mussel, so that's why I'm saying it would have to be a notice of intent so that natural heritage has to be notified. And see what their comments would be on,
Yeah, the impact.
yeah.
And I don't worry too much about setting precedent, because by law, our decisions don't set precedent.
So do you need
Okay,
to do a notice of intent to get, to file a permit with, natural heritage?
I believe we could put it, it's the check mark on the
I know
natural,
you gotta pay a fee.
right, and it's the check mark on the notice of
Not yet.
intent. If we did an RDA, I would have to ask the question whether or not we could do a negative
make sure I
three with
show
the
up.
condition
Yeah,
that they
can't
do
we just
natural
say-
heritage.
Condition it.
We want you to check with natural heritage, make sure you don't kill anything. Why can't we just
Yeah,
do
we
that,
can condition an RDA that way.
right?
Maybe.
To be honest, there was a little pushback even on the idea of an RDA. This is the message I'm getting is this is an emergency, it's a safety.
It's a healthy tree, so, right?
Yeah,
So why is it?
yeah, there's
emergency?
nothing wrong with that tree.
Well, I'm just saying,
Right.
we're getting,
Well, of
what we
course.
could do, it depends on what somebody's willing
Well,
to do. If they want to come in with, anyhow,
if they wanna crane it out of there, they can go do it now.
and that was my message. But I bring this back up again in terms of updates. This may not be,
Yeah.
it's not
I guess the
earth
bottom
shaking.
line
I'm
is
doing,
natural heritage if they wanna leave it in swamp, right?
yeah. And I spoke with DEP about it as well. They thought it was a notice of intent.
Yeah.
But I'm spending a lot of time with stuff that we're seeing on the agenda, but also just residents reaching out with questions. I want to put in a patio. Can I do that? And that's not earth shaking stuff, but in terms of updates on my time and so, I don't know.
So the
Nothing to write home about.
residents of Lakeville are keeping you busy.
Yes, they are.
Good to hear they're asking permission, or asking for advice before doing something.
Did we ever decide on a policy for, repairing,
Seawalls
yeah, revetments?
We did.
or revetments,
Seawall.
right? Yeah.
We did?
Basically, you can pretty much rebuild. Didn't we say rebuild as it was?
Yeah,
Because that kind of depends upon the deterioration of what happened there. I mean, you have a wall like your house where the ice came and ripped everything off a couple of years ago.
And if you're gonna be in the water, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
case
gotta
by
go in the water.
case,
Yeah.
huh?
you gotta go in the water to fix my wall.
Yeah, we discussed that if you were gonna, like for like reparations, all manual, we could do just an RDA versus a full NOI, depending on the size and scope of the case, of the situation.
Yeah, okay.
And you can always, we could have, they put all the boards in the dam because the water really is not as high as you might think it is right
Yeah,
now.
we are still technically in a drought. Yep,
The river is very low,
yep.
very low.
Yeah. Anyway,
Very well.
so,
Oh, new business before we
okay,
close.
okay.
To make it official, the select board chair has been notified and Nate has been notified. And I do have a letter that is officially tendering my father's resignation from the commission. So
We refuse to accept it. Can we do that?
We're putting them back to work. You can't get away with that.
we tried it with Josh and it didn't change. So I will be emailing it to the select board and copy everybody on it tonight. But he might at some point choosing, depending, to sit in the back and watch.
And yell at us, and he'll probably harass us.
He won't yell at you, but I'll be the one that gets yelled at when I go home. But unfortunately, the time has come that his health doesn't allow it. And to not leave, the open seat with the question. It's the second time I resigned his job in the last 6 months. So respectfully, with very heavy hearts, we do that.
For once, I'm speechless.
Related, I do have a question. I did hear that we had another submission of interest.
Well, I was just gonna say that on our next agenda, we have had somebody that has, requested to be on the commission, so I'm inviting him to our next meeting to,
Interview,
yeah.
like I got interviewed.
Motion to adjourn.
I have some questions.
Oops, I'm sorry.
I'm a new guy, so I guess.
Okay.
I heard a few times you guys say something like +2 or -1.
Well, you don't have that information, but
Okay, so I'm
We don't know
gonna,
what it means.
right, when somebody requests a determination of applicable, I said it real good all night, but the RDA.
No, I forgot.
There's a bunch of questions they ask. Is the wetland line right? Is this wrong? I mean, whatever. So our answer to that determination is
a set of regulations.
negative or positive. Negative is good because it means that we're saying you're not impacting the wetlands. So there's a bunch of, I'm gonna have Lori email you an RDA and the one they put in, determination, and then we make the determination. So you'll see, they ask the question, when we answer it, if it's negative, you check 1, 2, or 3 from what the question they asked, or it's positive, like it was on the RDA for the, delineation of the wetland at 160 Bedford Street, and it says, no, we don't agree, and you have to file a notice of intent.
Okay.
So
That
that's
make
what it
any
is,
sense
it's
to you at all,
basic.
Bill?
Maybe
No.
I'll try reading
I'm
it
still
too.
trying to make sense of it.
It's RDA one and it's what they ask us to determine and our answer. So it's two different forms. They send in the form with what they want us to determine. And then we vote on telling them.
Whether you need an RDA or a notice of intent.
Yeah. So it's just two
Either one or
forms.
the other.
So
Okay.
she'll send it, I usually carry them around in my book, which I didn't bring because I have to go and look
You can
about.
get it on the DEP website, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, but what Lori will send you them, so
Okay.
you have it.
And it's
So we
really
didn't have to
the
go searching
complexity
for
of the
it.
project that determines that. And it's, you know, and the distance to the wetland and all that stuff.
So negative is good because
Right.
you're not having an impact, and positive is bad because you are
Having an impact.
impacting.
Okay.
And we want more information.
Yeah. It
Well,
seems
it leads
backwards,
to
but I
it
understand it.
100%.
Yeah, people have gotten really angry with us when you say.
Negative.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one is, okay, a lot of times you continue things, and that, do you see the paperwork from then?
Yes.
Or you guys giving out more paperwork again?
No, just say, I
Okay, good.
save it
It's just
out,
like-
the ones
Oh, you
that,
do?
yeah,
Yeah, you bring it back.
bring it back.
I just
I'll
read
have to
it.
start doing that.
And, the agenda and the minutes, those emailed ahead of
Say that
time?
again?
The email of
Yeah.
for the agenda and the minutes?
Yep.
Are those emails, how
Yeah, you should get a
Far
whole
ahead.
packet.
Yeah, you get the whole.
Yeah, I do, well, I did once, so I missed it, but I just wondering if it was regular for you
Yeah,
guys.
I don't usually print mine off, but, cause Lori has the packets ready, you can go pick them up at the office, so you don't have to print it all out on your printer if you don't want to.
Yeah, usually the week before she's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
sent
get
it.
one for this one.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
usually by Wednesday, Thursday, it's finalized.
Wednesday or Thursday, or the previous,
Yeah,
okay.
And then if there's any revisions and you haven't been to the office to pick up your packet, Mark
We
will
just-
have
yeah,
revisions
bring
as
it to
well.
the-
Yeah, I don't print it out either because it's,
Oh, I mean, look, and it's a lot of paperwork.
but you can
Yeah.
review it on your computer and then grab your, or Mark brings it if you can't get by the office.
Okay, and if I go by the town hall and pick it up, they'll know?
no, the office at the
town
old
hall.
library.
Your library.
Our
Oh, the old
office is
library?
at the historic library.
Okay, so if I go there, pick it up, Mark will know I have it, he won't bring one himself for me?
Well, Lori will know
pick
you
up
have
yours.
it, so she won't make another one for
Right.
his.
Okay,
Yeah, I use like 100% of the time I didn't today, but I picked mine up before.
So she'll
Okay.
have
So
them
99%.
99.
She'll have 6 packets made and then we'll
okay.
draw down.
And she'll just
And
hand
she
them out,
puts a name
okay.
on them, and if you picked it up and it's
Everyone's got their
gone,
little sticky.
yeah.
Okay, I'll try to pick them up.
Are we
And
signing?
that's it for now.
I think we're signing this
Are
one.
we
Let's
signing 129 Staples Shore Road?
check that one.
No.
No,
Wait, sorry.
We're signing
7 Pine Bluff?
Pine
yes,
Bluff.
certificate of compliance. And the
And
one
then-
for Sandy
Sandy Point.
Point.
And there was one from last time that was an ORAD. There was
the
a long
address?
sheet. It's 936. There's not a, DEP number, SE 192936. Know what that
What's
one's.
the address?
It's not an address on here.
You sure?
I don't see it.
What's the blue sticky?
Please sign from last meeting. I gave you the wrong sheet. Frowny face.
That was the ORAD that,
Was,
Did you find all 6? Functions?
I haven't
She
looked
just-
at it. I'm
Oh.
1, 2,
gave this
3,
to
4
me
without
at
even
the end of the
thinking
day as she
5.
was leaving.
What's the worst that happens?
6, yeah.
Throw it away.
Are we gonna entertain a motion to
ORAD.
adjourn.
Not-
adjourn?
Yes, please.
Can we still keep signing?
Yeah.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Include the frowny
Oh,
face on
okay,
there.
you want the front face?